Hey everybody, welcome back to You Are Free TV. It is Friday, February 9th, 2024, and I'm so glad to be back with you here on the channel. I'll jump in with my disclaimer. This video is for entertainment purposes only. It is protected by the United States Constitution protecting free speech, as well as the Sullivan Act and reporting. It is not intended to bully or harass anyone, never to incite violence or hatred or lawlessness of any kind. It doesn't give legal, medical, or financial advice, and there are further disclaimers in the description below. So I want to start by saying thank you so much for supporting the channel. I want to say a big thank you to Zoe. Thank you so much for your support, keeping me going through February. So appreciated. Thank you also to MAGA Mags. Thank you so much. People who are supporting the channel are making it happen, so I thank you. And we're going to jump in here with the news. We've got so much news going on. It's a little bit off the charts, as we've seen with Tucker video, all of it. All of our real people who are capable of being statesmen out there giving incredible information and reports versus Joe Biden, who cannot speak, trying to defend himself against the realization of course, the State's Council, her coming out and saying that Biden can't stand trial because he's not fit to stand trial, even though they know that he literally did have these classified documents willingly, etc. So we're going to not really focus too much on that. That's been covered enormously, but we have so much to talk about in this video. So we're going to just jump right in. I think I'm going to just go right in here with some interesting and kind of fun stuff that just can launch us off. I want to start with Anna Paulina Luna. Right now, she is she's the Florida Republican in the House who has launched a new bill. It was leaked to the Daily Mail, supposedly, but she was a former Air Force service member in the Air Force from 2009 to 2014, now in the Congress. And she has been great doing heavy lifting in the Congress, and we really support her. But she was an airfield management specialist in the Air Force. And now she's put forth a bill that hasn't come out yet, but was leaked to the Daily Mail. And so she's come out on X and other places to support that she is doing this. And this is basically what she is calling the Schumer Act. Okay, and this is the Senators Can Help Underpin Military Engagement and Readiness Act. And I love this bill that she's about to put forth. And basically it's saying that all of the members of the Senate who supported the bill and the Congress members coming up who support this bill of funding Ukraine and all of this war in Ukraine, Israel, and what they're planning for Taiwan. We're going to see what's going on there. We have massive Raytheon giving an $80 million plus dollar contract. Lloyd Austin, the SecDef, having been a board member of Raytheon, massive. It's been like $3.5 billion to Raytheon since Lloyd Austin has been in charge of the Department of Defense. 80 million contract newly approved for Taiwan for what they're getting ready there, as we see troops being positioned on an island off of China, U.S. troops. And so Anna Paulina Luna, basically this is what she says, okay? The Schumer Act, senators can help underpin military engagement, that's the acronym, and readiness, okay? And the bill would require Congress members who vote for the military aid to Ukraine to serve on the front lines. I love this. I mean, it's a great way to start, isn't it? 6 months of active duty required for everybody in the Congress and Senate who is supporting this aid package. We've already had on the official count $75 plus billion to Ukraine. They want another $60 billion. They want another. Schumer's thing is $95 billion. Okay, so you get $18 billion to Israel and looks like $17 billion to Taiwan for whatever they're planning with Taiwan. And so I thought that was great, but people need to understand that 17 Republican senators voted on this bill. Grassley, Kennedy, Ernst, so many of them. And we need to get out and let them know that we do not support what they're doing, supporting war in Ukraine with our taxpayer dollars. And especially when we hear people like, Sheehy, Tim Sheehy out of Montana, is actually saying that U.S. troops should go into Ukraine. Funny, we're not at war with Russia in this country. Hasn't been announced. There's never anything from the Biden regime coming into Congress, coming in to say that we're declaring war. No accountability whatsoever. But we're all supposed to somehow be against Russia and support Ukraine. And we're not at war with them. We aren't. And yet all of our taxpayer dollars are going there. But we are not at war with them, and yet we have people like Sheehy coming out and saying that we should actually send troops there, and that's what Anna Paulina Luna is trying to put out here by putting out this bill, and it'll be really great to see it when it comes forward. So we had 67 to 32 in the Senate supporting this bill for all this $95 billion. And 17 Republicans. So if it was your Republican senator, you need to go and get on 202-224-3121. Let them know what you think. I'll list it below where you can find if it was yours or not, but I'm sure if you're watching this channel, you already know where your senator stands. And so, this is after yesterday. We see Zelensky managed to go through with firing the secretary, the defense minister there in Ukraine, Zaluzhny. And this is after even Budanov and the other major general there said that they weren't willing to take over the position of a defense minister. So even they were standing against it, saying we can't win this war. It is absolutely beyond the pale at this point. And so very interesting to see this. But I wanted to mention that we get the great representative out of Montana, Matt Rosendale, is now running for Congress against Sheehy there in Montana. And she already has Trump's endorsement. I don't know what's going on there. She's like a former Navy SEAL, all this stuff. But he's like full bore Ukraine war. And so I fully support Matt Rosendale. You can go Montana.com and support Matt Rosendale, who has done all the heavy lifting in the House, now running for the Senate to replace Sheehy. He has done everything for the America First Congress there, everything to do with supporting every single America First initiative in the Congress. Matt, F-O-R, Montana.com. Get involved. If you're in that area, contribute, and let's try to push this forward. Okay, so there's that. Anna Paulina Luna doing great job there with get the Congress to serve on the front lines for 6 months. I love it. Okay, and so then we're going to go into Bukele. I just wanted to mention this as we move forward, that Bukele out of El Salvador won the re-election. And this is great because Bukele, of course, is the guy who's locking up all of the cartel members in El Salvador. He's largely really doing a massive Bitcoin mining operation in his country, but also opening the doors for a major economic freedom revolution in this country. And the crime is now gone from being the biggest death count to the lowest crime in Central America. And so this is amazing. But what's really amazing about how Bukele won this election is that in the middle of the election, all of the machines that they were using were acting up, failing, switching votes, doing everything that they do here in the USA. And Bukele managed to succeed because the Electoral Court, in the middle of the election, shut down the machines. They shut down the machines, And they saw the fraud beginning, the flipped votes, all of this was happening with the machines. They stopped at mid-election and they switched to a precinct level hand counting of the ballots. Okay, they did that there in El Salvador. And so that's amazing for Bukele. He's reelected. Great for El Salvador. And so they managed to shut down the machines. And this is so important for us to understand here as we're dealing with the what's going out with the election, attempt to have there be a fair election in this country. You have Mike Lindell, you have precinctstrategy.org, .com, all these people, everybody going out doing massive heavy lifting as we fight the RNC, as we fight all of the people sitting in power. At the RNC, we really want Julie Murray out of Delaware, who is the RNC chair there in Delaware, former AG candidate there in Delaware, Biden's home state, to become the RNC chair. And now we have Ronna McDaniel backing up saying, oh, no, I'm not leaving. I might stay. We'll see what happens. Still digging in her heels. Well, Julie Murray has already been able to get there to be same-day voting, paper ballots in Delaware. She's already done the heavy lifting. This is huge. And so Julianne Murray is who I would very much recommend. And this is as we're seeing the rollout of Kerry. Kerry and Raskin, Kerry has moved, John Kerry, the bonesman, has moved from being the climate czar to being, I need the next election to make sure that all of our climate stuff is going to go through. And so he's now on the front lines of controlling who's going to be in the next election, who is going to win it, how to defeat Trump, basically, because Trump just destroyed everybody else, Haley. And then we have this little person named Ryan Blnkley, who I'm going to talk about today. Ryan Blnkley, who is running in this kind of dark horse fashion at the low levels, getting 400 votes here, 700 votes there. I want to talk about him today because I think it's interesting when we look at everything that's going on, that we have Dean Phillips on the Democrat side kind of doing the same thing. And they're both centrist candidates. And I think this could be part of the play going forward of could we get kind of a uniparty candidacy going. I know it sounds crazy, but there's just a strange interconnection, I would say, between this, these two players. But I want to talk about that in a moment. But Kerry and Raskin, okay, Raskin came out on live TV. This was last night, and this had to do with after we saw Biden trying to, fumbly diffuse the fact that he is incompetent to run to go to trial. Basically, we had her come out and say that, yes, Biden is guilty of crimes of harboring these national secrets, that the classified documents, he absolutely had them, and yet he is too old and he is mentally unfit to run trials, so we will not prosecute him. Now, of course, this is brought up now. Okay, they're going to try to impeach Biden again. They're already going to rerun the Mayorkas impeachment. But the Biden stuff is really interesting because when we look at Jamie Raskin coming out on TV last night with Joanne Reed, he basically said that it doesn't matter, okay, what happens with Biden, that if Trump gets in and he wins the presidency, the new Congress that's elected in 2024 will be poised to prevent Trump from taking office. And so what their new plan is that they're planning to obviously steal the House, or, so if you need to get out and support your Congress members, your House members who are running for 2024, because this situation is they plan to have the House in 2024, and that they are going to use it to be able to stop Trump from taking office. This is what Jamie Raskin said. Jamie Raskin, he is, of course, a dual citizen with Israel. He is, again, the same kind of Trotskyite communist family and a sympathizer. And we need to understand that there is this situation that's continued from the 2020 wargaming regarding John Podesta and all of them that ran the project to how would they handle Trump getting reelected, was that they would set up a new White House. They would do all these things. So Jamie Raskin goes and speaks it out loud. Joy Reid didn't really get what he was saying. What he was saying is that in the new election, 2024, the House that will be installed in the beginning of January 2025, January 3rd, the 6th, there will be a new House that will prevent Trump from taking office. It doesn't matter that he is not guilty of insurrection. It doesn't matter that SCOTUS, just ran the rug over Jason Murray. Even Gorsuch. It was very interesting to listen to Gorsuch in the reading, in the SCOTUS testimony yesterday, where Gorsuch kept saying over and over to Murray, who was one of his former aides, he kept saying, as you see it, the former president. When he referred to Trump, every time he said Trump, he said, or as you would say, the former president. As you would say. He said it over and over. I thought that was very interesting that Gorsuch is implying that he does not see Trump as the former president. Very interesting there. I thought that was quite incredible. And so when we look at this and we look at this wargaming, I wanted to kind of mention an important thing that's been going on this year, where we have another war game scenario. It's actually a movie that's being released in Sundance, in the movie awards, whatever, Sundance, that Kerry is now like in charge, John Kerry Bonesman, in charge of getting this election sorted, right, for the New World Order, for Cartel Babylon, for the World Economic Forum's carbon genocide that they plan to commit against us all. Well, we have this simulation that is coming out in this film, but also it was a war game, a real war game, but the film is called Wargame. But what they put out is that it's a simulation of a 2024 election coup. And we have people like Alexei Vindman quoted in there, all kinds of interesting stuff. And this is where, after, in their wargaming scenario, remember when John Podesta was doing it for 2020, he was playing Biden, and that there would be a separate White House set up. There would be that there was a insurrection going on, a coup, all of this. They already carried that out, didn't they? Well, so now they're doing it again. And this is a 2025 insurrection in early January that they're wargaming here. And they're calling it the Order of Columbus. Their war game had to do with Oath Keepers and QAnoners. And they were called the Order of Columbus. And what they're saying is that somebody named Christopher with a K, okay, as if it's a Nazi, Christopher. It doesn't matter that William Crystal, who wrote, the Project for a New American Century with Robert Kagan, Victoria Nuland's husband, the PNAC people, that they, Crystal, with a K, he gets to just be a Ukrainian Jew. But no, Crystal, this person is Christopher with a K, okay? Christopher Goldsmith, interesting name. But they're saying that it was based on a character to do with Mike Flynn, a Mike Flynn type character, and that it seeks to overthrow the Democrat winner of the 2024 election. And what they're saying, is that this film is about a Civil War rollout that begins with the 2025 election. This is the wargaming. This is why Kerry left to put Podesta. They switch positions. Podesta's now going to drive down the energy, tiny bit of energy sovereignty we still have left in this country, while Kerry's going to switch over to push this election wargaming for stealing 2025 election, 2024, but 2025, because as Jamie Raskin said on live TV last night with Joanne Reed, is that, oh, no, it doesn't matter what happens with this whatever about Trump not being allowed to be on the ballot in Colorado per SCOTUS. No. What matters is what's going to happen after that, because we're going to win the House. Somehow they think that, know that. And then January 3rd, when the House is already there, the 2025 House is now in play. That's 3 weeks before President Trump gets in play, on the 20th of January. No. They're going to stop him from being installed. And so this is what they came to, that the Democratic elected president, okay, in their eyes, what they're saying would watch a rollout of an insurrection happen, very J6 style. Once again, that there would be like a mega play out across multiple states, all these paramilitaries working in lockstep with each other would try to stop the Democrat president from coming in. So they're planning, even though Trump is at this point it's like 80-90% ahead, but 60, 70, whatever you want to call it, percent ahead. He just got Nevada, he just got Virgin Islands. Anyway, 270 to win it. So get involved. 270 to win it, right? That's what we need. But so that this president elect, supposedly this Democrat, would invoke the Insurrection Act to be deployed across the United States, so that the president-elect could gain authority over all the state's National Guards to stop these paramilitary people who were planning a civil war. Okay, and this is what they're already doing. I will link it below, and this is what they're planning. So I just wanted you to know that this is already going on. Same thing they did in 2020 for the wargaming for 2020. They're doing for 2024. They're even putting it in Sundance. Why not? All right, and so let's get further in. I wanted to talk with people about, we've got these, as I said earlier, we have, I'm going to get into the Tucker video. I'm going to talk about Tucker, Putin, all of that. But I wanted to talk about the situation of sort of these dark horses, these people that are hanging out behind the scenes. I'll talk about Dean Phillips in one of my next videos. But I wanted to talk about Ryan Blnkley, who seems to be continuing to hang out. When we look at, they keep putting all the focus on Haley and all the big money going to Haley. We have this guy from Dallas, Texas, Bush country, who is running still, even though he's getting 400 votes here, 700 votes there. And I thought we should know about him a little more. And so I wanted to talk about him. And so I'm going to do that now. And so Binkley, who is he? Who is Ryan Blnkley? And why is he hanging out still in the primaries and on the ticket for the Republican nomination? And it's very interesting. So let's look into it. So in 2016, Ryan Blnkley said that he was directed by God, that he had a direct revelation from God in 2016. Okay. All right. This is when Trump is elected. He had a revelation from God that he should run for president because the country is in trouble. Ryan Blnkley. And he's young. He wears the exact same blue coat as Trump, the same shade, the same hue. And he's got the strong jaw, and he's, good looking. He really could be like the Hollywood candidate for a young president. And he's out of Dallas. And this is where so much of this big neocon money comes out of. And supposedly, he spent $8 million of his own dollars, and nobody's supporting him. There's nothing happening there. These are not the droids you're looking for. We should not notice this guy. But I think it's interesting when we look at all of the options of what could happen to Trump between now and then, and just to look at him. So his major, when you go to his website, the first thing you see is believe, okay, believe. And believe and unite seem to be his big catchwords. And this is very much hope and change, like Barack Obama. And he is very centrist. He's very, he's going to clean up. He claims that he will clear all of America's foreign debt within his first term. And, so let's get into it. His big thing is he is a pastor. He created something called Create Church, north of Dallas, out of Richardson, Texas. And this is literally the belly of the beast of this neocon money area. And Create Church is the name. And it's one of these kind of, I don't know if I can quite call it a prosperity church doctrine, one of these, come here and make money type of situations. He does give financial advice to his constituents, try to help them get out of debt. It all looks very milquetoast. It looks helpful. But then he is in charge of, he is the CEO of what is the Generational Group CEO. They're consultants, they're in mergers and acquisitions as dealing with mid-level banks. But they are also hugely the biggest receivers of kudos for what they've done. The Generational Equity Group is underneath the Generational Group. He is CEO, that is Ryan Blnkley. And the North American Investment Bank of the Year awards from 2016, 17, 18, and 22, doing mergers and acquisitions for basically getting people to sell their businesses, okay, to larger investors, okay, if you get my drift. And so basically flipping businesses for, in my opinion, what would be bigger banksters' acquisitions of them. And you look at them, it looks all milquetoast, it looks all great. But they're talking about generational equity. Supposedly they closed more deals in the middle market than any other merger and acquisition firm in the past decade. Growth and exit strategies for small businesses to sell their businesses to larger businesses. And it's operating out of Dallas, Chicago, Tampa, Irvine, Texas, Atlanta, New York City, and Canada, all across Canada. And Binkley claims, I will pay off all foreign debt in the USA in one term. Now he got 774 votes in Iowa and 450 plus something votes in Nevada. And so what's really interesting is that, we don't know, who's funding him. Okay, so $8 million of his own money. We need to find out who's funding Ryan Blnkley and how he's staying in, even though there's no reason to do so. Why does he keep staying in? And that's when we look at Kerry's, working on the election, all of this, and why is Binkley staying in? And I just wonder about this. His former work was at Procter & Gamble. And then he worked at Boston Scientific Corps. He was in the ministry from his mid-20s. And he, again, created a church in Plano, Texas, that is, or in that area, Richardson, called Create Church. Create Church. And a very strange name for a church. Create Church. It's not creation. It's not anything like that. He's the lead pastor. He's married to a Korean woman, a Korean immigrant, and they've adopted their youngest daughter is adopted from Korea, or it might be a son, I'm not sure, the youngest child. And this is what they're doing. They have a church. They have all these financial classes at the church, and they are running against. He is running Ryan Blnkley against President Trump. So I wanted to put that out there. Generational Group CEO Ryan Blnkley. This has to do with, again, the Generational Equity Group. And generational equity, they have multiple things. It's consultants, it's mergers and acquisitions. It's all about buying small companies and selling them to larger companies. And so, yeah, interesting. All right, so there's that. I wanted to make sure I mentioned that because I think there is a situation where we have somebody hanging out here, kind of like Dean Phillips in the, in the Democrat situation. And Dean Phillips is like, oh, I went to a MAGA rally and everybody was so nice to me. And it's kind of like both of these guys are playing both aisles. They're both centrists. And with everything rolling out, I look at these small candidates because I wonder what they might try to pull off. Will they put up Dean Phillips if something was happened to Trump and Haley had already taken herself out? Would they put up Ryan Blnkley? And these are just my thoughts, and so I'll move on from there, and I will link everything below. And so, okay, I want to move on here to talk about a couple other things. I want to just mention that today we had Mike Lindell's recovery network, the Lindell Recovery Network, was taken out by their servers and sponsors online. Basically saying we're getting attacked by too many hacks, we can't support you anymore. And so this is a free addiction recovery program put up by Mike Lindell, now attacked again. Another level of attack on Mike Lindell, where he's doing the heavy lifting. And if you go to, Lindell Recovery Network, .org, you'll check it out, or .com. And also, of course, the Lindell Plan, precinctstrategy.org. We're dealing with what needs to be massive amounts of effort. We need people to be poll watchers, to be precinct strategy, get involved, because we need the RNC to literally get reformed right now. We need Ronna McDaniel out. She's now waffling back and forth. And again, I'll put in Julianne Murray out of Delaware, who has already switched Delaware to paper ballots, to same-day voting, and she could really be the RNC replacement. And so, all right, we had people last night while Biden was creeping around trying to recover from Ben-Hur, that's hysterical, from the lawyer, her, having told the entire world that Biden is guilty of these crimes, but he's unfit for trial. Well, then we saw people at Blinken's house, at Secretary of State Blinken, all these pro-Palestine protesters outside of his house, protesting his involvement in funding Israel, and basically calling him Bloody Blinken, shame on you. And it's so funny, it's for the wrong reasons, but it is literally accurate, very much so. And so I want to move on from there, just to mention a couple other things. And so we get the Tucker Putin interview we're going to get into in a second. I want to just mention a couple other things first, which is I want to mention that Nick Sartor, on X is still doing the heavy lifting to deal with Maui and the weapons assault there, the directed energy weapon destruction of Lahaina. And Nick Sartor is saying that there's still no support here at all in Maui. These people are now being very, very much strong-armed to move off the island and sell their property. The whole area is still on lockdown with FEMA and other organizations, that the residents are still prevented from visiting their properties, that the toxic waste is being moved to a hillside above the town to cause more toxic waste filtering in. Zero aid, nothing coming from the government, nothing coming to the government, from the government. They have nothing. Okay, these people had their whole homes torched, and there is no aid whatsoever from the federal government that wants to give, $60 billion to Ukraine, $17 billion to Israel, $17 billion to Taiwan, and that basically they are being forced off their land. I will link that below. That is still going on. And I also wanted to mention, before I get into stuff with Tucker Carlson and Putin, and also Elon Musk, and kind of the overall around that, is I want to just mention this thing called Southwest Key Programs that gets into who is doing the trafficking of the children through the United States. And Southwest Key Programs, which is basically a Latino nonprofit getting tens of millions of dollars out of U.S. aid from this country, from your taxpayer dollars, they are running massive child trafficking throughout the United States, and human trafficking, hugely in New York City, a place in Randall Island in New York City, and some of the biggest hotels where specifically a lot of African illegals are being housed, and that there's massive stabbings, there's sexual assaults, that it's mayhem, and that they're calling the police. The police then get attacked, like what we saw the other day with those kids who assaulted the police officers, all interconnected with this group running these facilities, which is Southwest Key Programs. You can go to southwestkey.org to look at them, and you can go to muckraker.com to check out some of the reports on this, and I will link it below. But these are the people out of Austin, Texas, is where Southwest Key Programs is originated, and they are the ones that are controlling the Walmarts and schools and other buildings in Texas to house especially children, like the Walmart in Brownsville that has something like 2,000 plus children. And a lot of those children have asked to leave that facility and go home, and they will not let them out. And that there was, back several years ago, a person named Le'Veon D. Pacheco, who was working with Southwest Key and had basically sexually assaulted multiple children and teenagers. And he, I believe, has been convicted on multiple counts of this, 11 sex offenses. And still, this program gets tens of millions of dollars in U.S. aid as all of this continues to go on. And so these are the people who are running the Walmarts, running all of these abandoned buildings that the box stores are making tens of millions of dollars off of U.S. aid out of Walmart. Okay, read Hillary Clinton, massive money off of that. Hillary Clinton, who came out and said, was it yesterday, she said regarding Tucker Carlson that he should basically watch out for himself, because those Russians tend to kill people who go against them, is what she said. And her co-host looked at her like, oh my God, it was like the Arkansas like kill list. It was crazy, Arkansas threats against Tucker Carlson. And so we'll get more into Southwest Key Programs. I'll link it below. Today is kind of a waterfront video. We're just kind of going over the waterfront, looking at what's going on in the wargaming amongst all of the major crazy town that's going on with our elected officials and our Trump, Putin, all of them. What it looks like to see Joe Biden come up, can't speak, mistakes the Egyptian president for the Mexican president. He's been doing it with Mitterrand versus Macron. He's just keeps doing it where he is not Copus Mentis. And we have State's Attorney Herr saying that he can't stand trial. He is literally incapable, And then now it's sparking the 25th Amendment here, where we're going to maybe get him to be put on impeachment, to be removed for his lack of ability to speak. And so we'll see what happens there. And so I want to just kind of jump in here a little bit with the Tucker Carlson stuff here at the end. That was a great interview with Putin. I thought it was excellent. Tucker had to kind of fight to hold his own there against somebody who's obviously very, very skilled and intellectual and a very great speaker and thinker, that Putin is. And he's also very, malicious and devilish. Okay, this is not somebody who is our friend here in the United States. This is somebody who is, of course, Russia first. And that means, of course, going against the United States. And so I'm not a Putin supporter, but you cannot ignore the fact that he was able to sit there for 2 hours and give an incredible description of everything since the 9th century that's gone on in Russia. All of it very accurate, because I've been reading up and studying on it for the last year of what's really going on and has been going on in Russia. You can look at different people who have been covering this. Will Zoll out of Prussiagate online, Prussiagate Substack, I'll link it below, does a great job on everything he did last fall, kind of laying out, the history. But it's very akin to what Putin said in the interview. And I wanted to just kind of start here with something that happened today on the Alex Jones show, because I have it on in the background while I'm doing other research. I'll listen to it here and there. And he had an interesting situation where he had David Icke come on. And this was where, and I'm going to link it below because I'm sure they have sequenced this part of the video out, where you had David Icke speaking directly with Elon Musk, who called in on Spaces. And happy birthday to Alex Jones, by the way, 50 years old today. Half century well spent, I'd say. But we've got David Icke, and prayers for his daughter who died recently. But we get him coming up against Musk, who Putin talked about very interestingly during the video with Tucker. But basically, we hear where Putin is, really pushing this China as the new model, for the world. Don't go against China. They're just doing their thing. They're just taking over the world, and you should be fine with it. Just like America's losing the dollar, and just as we're hearing, Biden trying to say that those $300 billion of U.S. Treasury bonds that Russia owns, they seize them, whatever they seize them. And now Biden has been threatening to basically, cash those out, steal them, literally take them. It's different than putting them on, hold, sanctions. Now we're going to seize them and use it to fund the war against Russia. Well, that will be the total decimation of the U.S. dollar because of all the U.S. Treasury bonds owned by all of the richest countries that are now running towards BRICS. China at all, UAE, all of it will immediately liquidate those bonds, because if you're going to not only sanction but then seize and steal the bonds and use them against us, who would hold on to them? But back to David Icke with Elon Musk on AJ today on the Alex Jones show. Very interesting, because we had Icke calling out Musk for creating the cloud using the Starlink satellite system deployed, by SpaceX with DARPA funding that our taxpayer dollars literally fund Elon Musk and SpaceX, and saying that basically, in order to have the hive mind that they plan for us, we would need to have SpaceX. That SpaceX is doing heavy lifting with putting out the massive Gs, right, wherever they deploy these satellites, and to create this cloud, this literally an ionization cloud, but also the cloud in the digital world, to create the hive mind for the Internet of Bodies. And yeah, David Icke lay out a really clear way that was going on, and to hook us all into this simulation domination where we're being influenced constantly from the cloud through the G's of what we think, what we perceive, what we read, but more than that, what Icke was saying was that no, it's actually pushing information into our brains, like that it's creating a hive mind that is coming out of AI, but literally the role of Starlink is to make that cloud happen so that the Internet of Bodies can run, so that we are this intra-body nano network, now that we all have the smart dust and the sensors inside of us. And Icke was talking about that, in the simulation domination, when you get your twin Earth being created, the twin digital spirits of all of us being created, all of this, where their hope, in my view, not Icke's, or I think it is his, but he didn't say that, but I would say it's because they are trying to deal with what's coming of this, to split us from this quantum shift that's happening on the Earth to do with this photon belt, they know that's coming in 2030, that we're kind of already almost in the thick of it. They need to capture us quicker and quicker on a quantum level in a hive mind digital simulation verse, instead of God's plan for us, which is to evolve and split off from these demonic entities that are trying and successfully have been sucking all the energy out of us for the last hundreds of years, millennium. And so, it was very interesting to watch this go down. And so somebody calls into AJ, I'll link it below, you'll be able to watch it, I'm not going to belabor it, but he called himself Adrian Dittman. I thought that was interesting because Dittman is a wordplay for mantid, right? Like when we hear about the mantis species. I thought that was interesting. But basically, Musk calls in while Icke is talking with Alex Jones, and he says, he's quite angry and bullying, and very much this autistic way of being in a very elite privilege. I have the right to do what I want to do as a scientist. Why are you being so stupid? You're here on the internet, he's saying to Icke. You're already participating in AI. You're participating in the digital universe by being online, having this conversation with millions of people. That is the same thing as what we are doing with augmenting humanity. He sounded like Noah Yuval Harari today. Hugely sounded like Harari. He basically just said, it's coming. We're going to augment. Doesn't it make sense that we should have digital augmentation on humanity so that they can take over, when there is a threat in the future and we can no longer survive, that these augmented humans will be able to move us into a new, multiverse, whatever. He didn't say that. He basically meant like move to Mars. He stays in this 3D scientific facade. It is a facade, it's a beard, that we're going to move to Mars, and nothing to do with interdimensionality. It's all about that, no, if we augment ourselves, we will be capable of surviving the decimation of this planet. And of course, Musk has repeatedly been calling for, carbon taxes that should be the same as cigarette or alcohol taxes, that we need to pay this carbon tax because it's hurting the planet. And it was so interesting to watch Icke, because he basically said, why can't he call himself Elon Musk? He's clearly Elon Musk. This is crazy. Like, what am I even doing talking to somebody who won't even say who they are? And it was a very interesting but creepy interchange with Elon Musk, very much acting like his grandfather, right? His grandfather, the technocrat out of Canada, who really was huge in the attempt to create technocracy, which is still going on through the Trudeaus, of creating technocracy, the whole extermination program, the Logan's Run program out of Canada, the euthanasia programs, the Nazi affiliations, all of it, very clearly lined out by Putin yesterday, that everything in Ukraine is being run by Nazis, and the people involved are all Nazi families, laying it out so clearly. And I got to say that Musk sounded very much like that today on this interview on the Alex Jones show, and I will link it below. And basically, we get Alex Jones pretty much defending Musk, trying to, shield, kind of bullying as well, David Icke, who just lost his daughter. But yeah, so okay, so what did they have to say? What more went into it? Musk had to say, why is it a problem to have our sensory experience delivered to us by AI or by, these augmentation systems? Why is that a problem? Right? It's like, why is that a bad thing? He said, why is it a bad thing? If it could make you better, stronger, better equipped to survive in what? In what? Survive what? We're living here now. Like, God is created this beautiful, incredible planet and reality that we live in. And he seems to know something we don't know. Okay, he seems to know something about secret space program or the breakaway civilization that we don't know. And it was very much a very elitist viewpoint that he was throwing down with a lot of anger. And I thought that was really interesting. I'm going to link it below so you can watch it yourself. I won't keep babbling on. But I just thought it was pretty creepy. We had a caller that came into the show that got kind of thrown in there during a break that was kind of, basically saying, hey, you're talking about that there's no God and no base reality, that we don't live in God's creation, and that we should all be flesh bots for this AI system, basically a cheap source of energy, where, and this is the Internet of Bodies, that is what the intra-body nano network is that we are huge batteries because we are made of electricity. We live in this electrical universe, but humans are the hugest source of energy and also the hugest source of brain power. And when you can interface humans in our electrical energy, our energetic frequency is so huge that we can power everything more than almost anything else. And so basically get the chip, or basically just get the nanodust in you, and it's sucking off you, and it's connected with Starlink, it's connected with the G's, and it is, we're powering it, basically. And that's not the unspoken thing. We are powering it, okay? And it is scouring all of our biological and brain data. It's scouring everything in us to feed itself, feed the AI, and also in interdimensional entities, I would say. That is the luge effect, where it is sucking up all of our pain and suffering that's being created by the elites per their mandate with their Luciferian contract to create as much death and awful as possible, to feed this thing even higher on what it gets from our adrenal exhaustion, our adrenal, constant overload that we're throwing out through the G's. And so I know that all sounds like a lot and also just kind of squirrely, but, I'm at 53 minutes. I'm not going to get too much into the Tucker interview. It stands on its own. I would say, as I said earlier, if you want to check out sort of the background of what Putin had to say in that interview, I would suggest Will Zoll on the Prussiagate Substack, which I will link below. But I did want to at least say that we have, we have Tucker trying to, while he's fighting them, trying to throw the Espionage Act at him, and having the EU sanction him. Maybe they'll try to seize his property, his goods, but he did have a few important things to say, which we want to put out there because it's important to mention the journalist Evan Gershkovich, who has been in jail in Russia for a year for espionage, basically, for, being in possession of classified documents from Russia as a Wall Street Journal journalist. And Tucker did go to bat for him and say, will you release him? Can I go home with him, basically? And Putin said he wouldn't rule it out. We're talking with intelligence. This is all agreements that go between intelligence. And he said it over and over. Putin was so clear. We're basically only dealing with intelligence here. He basically denied, he said, I haven't talked to Biden ever. Me and Biden aren't talking. Okay, he kind of glossed over Trump, basically said, oh yeah, we had a good rapport, but that there was no real mention of what would happen in the future. Basically, he said that we will not give up the Russian territory, that it's been taken over in Ukraine by the coup since 2008. Putin put out super accurate information that all of the coup activity that began in 2008, carried out in 2014, the Maidan coup, the Orange Revolution, that's Nuland et al. All of the, as I said in my last video, the Trotskyite Arab Rev out of Ukraine. And so basically saying that they're aligned with Nazis. They said they wouldn't be aligned with Nazis, that they would stop supporting the Nazi regime that is occupying Ukraine, and they won't stop doing it. And he accurately said that Zelensky, who is, of course, funded by Kolomoisky, and everything from the TV show right up to funding his campaign and his security and everything else, and all the Zelensky's now worth $1 billion, and his own generals are going against him. Putin says they're Nazis, and why is America supporting a Nazi regime? These are Nazis who come from Nazis, who are interrelated for generations, trying to seize this area for what end? And so that is all well and good and very true. I thought it was very interesting how Putin took his watch off. He took his watch off at the beginning of the interview. And that must be a signal to somebody that means something. And I'm not intelligence. I don't know what it means. It looked to me like the time, it almost looked like, this is, time has run out. Time has run out on the USA. But I don't know. And so we're going to get into more of all of this. You can watch the entire video with Tucker Carlson. He did a great job. He got kind of roughed up, I'd say, by Putin. But he managed to hold his own, but maybe didn't ask the best questions or kind of insert himself. But he's in a delicate situation there. And so it's not like your Barbara Walters type interview with heavy hitting, but it did hit some important things. But I did really appreciate Putin's very, very candid rollout of the timeline of how the USA, massively through intelligence, has systematically gone closer to Russia and taken over Ukraine and trying to push this NATO World War III type rollout. And so it was quite good. It was quite good. But anyway, folks, we're at 58 minutes here, and I just kind of wanted to bring in all these different elements that are going on and look at, what are they rolling out for the 2024 election with Kerry, Raskin in there, Raskin saying so clearly, we're going to make sure the new House in 2025 will make sure that Trump isn't able to take the office. And what? Like, how can they even just come out and say it? The House will make sure. The House will do it. And so they're planning to take the House, steal the House. The call's coming from inside the House, all of that. And so we need to make sure that we really push for getting involved. The LindellPlan.com, PrecinctStrategy.com. We need 60,000 plus poll watchers. We need massive amounts of committee men. We need people really involved in the RNC, and we need you immediately to get involved, because they are wargaming this with millions and millions of dollars out of the coffers of the DNC, the deep state uniparty situation. It's DNC, but it's both sides. It's all of the cartel Babylon spending all their money to figure out how they can best steal this election. Look at Binkley willing to come in and say, hey, in the middle of the election, they are stealing our votes. This is flipping things. The machines are fraudulent, shutting them down and going back to hand counting in the middle of the election. We can do that here. We can do it with your help. So get involved in all of your local elections, and get out there, canvass, phone bank, do it all, and help your states, locals, and federal elections that are happening. That your U.S. elections for your senators and your representatives, because it's a no holds barred situation going on here in 2024. So I hope you enjoyed the show, and if you thought something was specifically, more information that you didn't get elsewhere, and you want to support the channel and just be part of magnifying stuff, there's ways to do so below. And of course, I want to mention my sponsor, c60evo.com/YAFTV. Use the code YAFTV for 10% off. And that is for C60 Evo is the highest powered, most amazing C60 made in the most incredible plant. This fights inflammation, it fights radiation, it cleans out your mitochondria like nothing else, getting in there and working right directly in your mitochondria with your glutathione and your melatonin. I suggest supplementing those so you can superpower it, and just taking the garbage out, because everything they're hitting us with and they're threatening with disease X and everything else are all assaults on the mitochondria. It's all assaults on trying to intensely hit our DNA and make us part of the cloud. Elon Musk's what's the big deal, right? Yeah, we know what the big deal is. It's millions and millions of dead from the shots that are super amplified by the Gs. 5G radiation protection. If you support the channel, you get 15% off and a different code and link sent to you. So thanks for watching, and I appreciate you. And we are going to fight back because we have God's armor. And, that's what Elon Musk can't get. What's the big deal? The big deal is that God runs the show, is that we are not going to be part of a digital cloud simulation. We are going to prevent that happening to any of us, okay? And we already know where it goes in the end. God wins, we win, but we need to be part of our faith through action. So we're going to do it. We're going to stay free. You are free. I'll see you next time.